Hi everyone, it's me, Dr. Kahng. Welcome back to my channel. I'm a cosmetic dentist, and today I'm going to talk about 7 things you should know about Invisalign. Before we move forward, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so that you know exactly when I have a new video coming out on cosmetic dental procedures. Before we get into it, I want to give you a little background on how I came up with these 7 things. On the one hand, I'm a cosmetic dentist and I do the Invisalign procedure for a lot of patients. But on the other hand, I'm also a patient myself. I'm currently in Invisalign. I'm on my 3rd round. So that's how I came up with these 7 things from personal experience. The first thing is that they're not really that invisible. I can tell when other people are wearing Invisalign trays, but they are much better than getting traditional braces, that's for sure. So although they're not completely invisible, they're pretty good. I'll put them in for you so you can see. See, they're not completely invisible, which is a point I want to make because it's called Invisalign. However, like I said, if you're an adult and you don't want to go through traditional braces, this is a great option. Number 2 is that most people need attachments. So attachments are these little composite blobs. Composite is the material that we would use for a traditional filling, and we actually make little blobs on the front of the teeth. For example, look at this one. Now that is a very large attachment. That's what we call them, attachment. Usually they're much smaller, but because this tooth is very stubborn and it's having a hard time rotating, they made that attachment humongous. But most people, their attachments are much smaller, but they do exist. Now, when I was a beginning dentist doing Invisalign, I tried doing Invisalign with and without attachments on cases. Some patients really just don't want attachments on their teeth. But for me personally, I noticed a difference in the final result if there are no attachments. The attachments are meant to anchor these little trays, and the anchors are important, especially if you're rotating a tooth or moving a tooth. They are the modern version of a bracket. So I know they're a pain in the butt. If you need attachments, I would say get the attachments and get that result. The third thing is that you are supposed to wear these trays 22 hours a day. That is what's recommended by Invisalign. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a long time to wear the trays. Personally, I find that this is one of the most difficult parts of Invisalign. Sure, you can wear them at night. People don't have a problem wearing them at night, but some have a very hard time adjusting to daytime wear. Ideally speaking, Invisalign trays should only be out for when you're eating food, and those meals should be quite short in order to abide by the 22-hour rule. Personally, I have not been wearing my trays for 22 hours. I find it extremely difficult, and I only eat 1 meal a day because I do intermittent fasting. Maybe that's why I'm on my 3rd round of Invisalign. Another reason I found that it's difficult is because there's a little bit of lisping when these are in. So this is me speaking without any Invisalign trays in, and then let's put these in and see if you can hear a difference. This is me with my Invisalign trays in. So you can hear a little bit of lisp. I think most other people may not notice the lisp, but we notice the lisp ourselves. So while one of the pros is that you can always take these out, I find that most people leave them out because they're doing Zoom calls or meetings and they don't like how they talk with the lisp. And that just ends up carrying on throughout the entire workday, which means the trays weren't necessarily in for a long enough period of time to make an impact. So yes, it is a lifestyle change. Number 4 is oral hygiene. Yes, you do need to brush and floss after every meal and before putting your Invisalign trays back in. You cannot just put your Invisalign trays back in. That's trapping bacteria. And if you do that, there is a higher chance that you may get cavities during this process. And that is exactly opposite of what we want. Yes, you do have to brush and floss before putting your trays back in. And remember to wait 30 minutes at least between your last meal and brushing. Number 5 is IPR, which is called interproximal reduction. And most dentists will explain this in a very scary way, but it's basically that you're just creating a little bit of space in between the teeth by removing a sliver of enamel. Maybe I explained it in a very scary way as well. Another way that I explain it is like it's just sanding in between the teeth. The amount of space is really minimal, 0.1, 0.2 millimeters. And the reason we do that is to create space. Like for example, if you have a lot of crowding in the front, how are we going to put all the teeth back to straight if there's no space? So what we do is create a little bit of space in between each tooth. And we do that instead of extruding extracting an entire tooth, which is what they used to do a long time ago. Now, in some cases, and you need to talk to an orthodontist about this, sometimes an entire tooth does need to come out. But in most cases these days, we do a little bit of IPR to create the space and we are done. The second reason you'd want IPR is if you have little black triangles. So I'm going to expose myself a little here. I have a black triangle, and that's partially why I'm doing Invisalign. So if you look at my two front teeth, there's a little black dot there. That was bigger before. It was bigger. It's closed in quite a bit. I think I need to do another round and close it in a little bit more. But by doing a little bit of sanding in between the two front teeth and squishing the teeth closer together, we can close in that little black triangle. Now, as a dentist, do I love IPR? Do I love the idea of removing enamel that doesn't come back and is irreversible? I don't love it. Honestly, I think every dentist hates IPR. But after doing enough cases of Invisalign where I do IPR in some and I don't do IPR in others, I've realized IPR is a very important part of the whole Invisalign process. It really does affect the final result. The final result looks a lot better if you are to do IPR. I have a whole bunch of videos showcasing IPR using a disc, using a strip in my shorts if you want to check that out. So let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is that the initial set of trays is never the end. In 90% of my cases that I've done, there's always a refinement phase. And I always warn patients about this upfront because I don't want patients to feel like, oh, my Invisalign treatment is only 14 trays and get to the end and then they need to do another 8 afterwards. So what the refinement phase is after your first set of trays where most of the work is done, we'll take a look. You're supposed to be done, but we'll take a look and we'll see how each tooth moved. If there is a stubborn tooth or a tooth that I feel could be in a better position, that is the opportunity to rescan and get another set of trays. That is the refinement phase. We're really just tweaking the final result so that we can be happy with the efforts that we put forth into Invisalign. Now we are at the last thing I think you should know about Invisalign. So number 7 is that a retainer is made at the end of treatment and that retainer is worn every day for the rest of your life. And if you don't wear that retainer, the teeth can relapse. So if you are considering Invisalign, find out if that retainer is included in the cost of the actual treatment. A lot of offices will do it separately. In my office, I include a retainer in the cost of treatment because I feel like that is a very important part of the treatment, is making sure the results last. Another thing I think people should be aware of when it comes to retainers, especially Invisalign brand retainers like Vivera retainers, is that Invisalign recommends that you change them out on average about once a year. So you get a new retainer once a year. So let's say that you're 20 years old and you just finished Invisalign, and let's project that you're going to live until you're 100. That is 80 retainers. Now I know that's what Invisalign recommends, and we always want to go based on what Invisalign recommends. But personally, I'm not going to replace my retainer once a year. I'm going to wear it, and when it starts to wear out or it starts to stretch out, I will replace it. So that's my personal approach. I'm not speaking as a dentist here, but I also find that's what a lot of people choose to do. Now, if you grind your teeth at night, you're going to wear through those retainers a lot more quickly than somebody who doesn't grind at all. And that's our 7 things I think you should know about Invisalign. One very, very last one, let's piggyback that on to number 7, is that if you do lose your retainer, or let's say you lost your retainer and you moved to Colorado, your dentist that did your Invisalign case can transfer your case to that new dentist that you would have in Colorado. And that Colorado dentist can print out another set of retainers for you. It's a digital world. It's really cool. Ideally speaking, if you were to get a new retainer, you don't want the new retainer after your teeth have shifted a little bit. You want that new retainer where you ended up your Invisalign. So that will always be kept in the Invisalign cloud universe. Make sure you utilize that aspect of the Invisalign software. All right, that's it with this video. If you found it helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps with the algorithm, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.